Welcome to our channel, where we bring to you non-fictional stories that are laden with rich didactic lessons that you can draw on to deepen your relationship with mankind and the divine. We take you from ordinary everyday happenings to Bible-based instructions that, if well followed, can bring lasting rest to your soul. If you find what we do on this channel interesting, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share this video with folks who can also be blessed by its rich messages.
Once upon a time, there lived a wealthy man that had an only child, whom he doted over extremely, as he is the only one left to him after the unfortunate demise of his wife some couple of years back. This man had great possessions, which included landed properties and an iconic and gigantic art gallery. This happened to be his most cherished and prized possession. As a result, he stocked it with epic, classical, and glamorous paintings of the Renaissance, like the immortal works of Leonardo da Vinci of France, Michelangelo, Giovanni Bellini of Italy, and several great artworks and aesthetically appealing items. His art gallery was worth its weight in billions of dollars. This and other of his properties he wished to bequeath to his son someday. Every day, when this man would step out to work, his boy, whenever he returned from school, enjoyed a walk around town. It so happened that during one of his adventures downtown, he stumbled on a pauper cobbler who doubled as a painter. Somehow, the boy took an unusual liking to this pauper. First, he started by interacting casually with him, and as fate would have it, before long, they became great friends. This made him pay a visit to the shop of this pauper cobbler, as that seems to be a delightful way for him to pass time. Whenever he visited, he watched him work and sometimes assisted him work in the little way he could. He even came around with his lunch sometimes, and shared it with the pauper cobbler cum painter. This cobbler became so fond of the boy that every day he looked forward to his visit, as that seems to make his day worthwhile. Their fondness and friendliness grew and gradually snowballed into them being great friends over several months. It then came to a time that the pauper looked forward to the visit of this boy, but he was no longer coming around, and this continued for a few days. The pauper cobbler, being stunned by the sudden turn of events, decided to give it time, that the boy might visit again someday. It got to a time that he could no longer forbear. He then summoned the courage to visit the boy in his house. It was when he visited that he got wind of the fact that the boy had taken ill and sadly could not make it. He died as a result of his illness. This hit the cobbler hard, as he had lost a great friend. On leaving the house of the wealthy man, he returned to his shop and began to think of what to do to convey his sentiment of appreciation to the boy's father. He thought and thought, until he resorted to making a painting of the boy to present it to his father. Without delay, he then began work at it. When he was done making the portrait of the boy, he went to the house of the wealthy man and presented it to his gatekeeper to give to the man on his return from work. That day, when the wealthy man returned from work, his gatekeeper gave him the painting of the boy made by the cobbler. Upon receiving it, he loved it and was full of gratitude that someone would gesture and honor him that way. As a sign of appreciation for the painting of his boy, made by his son's old-time buddy, he added it to the paintings in his art gallery. A couple of years afterwards, the wealthy man, still grieving the loss of his son, and besides due to aging, became gravely ill. Realizing that he wouldn't make it, he wrote his will. In the will, he considered the fact he didn't have an heir to inherit his properties, so he instructed that his properties, including his endless fascination, his art gallery, and all of his possessions, be auctioned off and the money be used for philanthropic work, after which he died. A great burial ceremony was put together, to celebrate his legacies, and he was buried ostensibly. Then a day was set for the auction of his properties, including his mighty art gallery. Invitation was then sent out to the public to attend and come and bid for his properties, stating that the items in the gallery would, however, be the first to be auctioned off. On the day of the auction, people from all walks of life were present, including the pauper cobbler and some wealthy men who came around to buy a painting or two that they would add to their own gallery. The lawyer that had the charge of the day to preside over the event set the procession in motion, and he began thus. The first painting that would set the scene for the event is the amateur painting of the boy, done by the pauper cobbler. This met with disinterest from all that were present. None wanted to go for it, as it does not look appealing, nor did it look like a painting done by an expert painter. Of which one wouldn't blame them? What would they have done with it, should they have gone for it? The pauper cobbler, seeing that none was ready to bid for it, decided to go for it. Who would appreciate such a portrait better than a one-time friend? He reached down into his pocket and brought out the few pence he had to bid for it, hoping that there would be no counterbidders. However, since no one outbidded him, or even went for it, he was given the painting for keeps. When that was out of the radar, everyone present began to make ready their resources in preparation for the real deal, as it was time to auction off the great paintings, done by expert painters. As that was ongoing, the lawyer in charge of the procession read out the will, and he said, according to what is contained in the will, whosoever has the amateur portrait of the boy owns everything that is the wealthy man's, his houses, including the art gallery and all his possessions. That was how the pauper cobbler became a wealthy man in matters of seconds. What a twist of fate! He had the portrait of the boy, and that made him a great man. Imponderable and implausible, yet true. Now, you might be out there wondering what a lucky man he was, but we should also be telling you what a greater lucky man you are. Even though the wealthy man had great possessions, but that is still limited compared to the wealth that is ours in God. The pauper cobbler had the son of that wealthy man, and became a possessor of what the wealthy man had. This brings to mind the passage in the book of 1 John 5:11 and 12. It reads, "This is the record that God hath given us eternal life, and this life is in his Son. He that hath the Son hath life, and he that hath not the Son hath not life." God doesn't need anything from us to give us all things. All he wants to see is his Son in our possession. In his Son resides all his blessings, both for life here and hereafter. He has no blessing for us apart from his Son. In his Son, we find all that we need for life and godliness. Little wonder, a songwriter quipped, "All that I want is in Jesus. He satisfies. Joy he supplies. Life would be worthless without him. All things in Jesus I find. If you have the Son, therein lies life, and life in abundance."